everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, and I am joined for the first time in a long while by a full house. Connor's here.
I am. It's been a while.
And I feel bad for introducing him first. It's weird. I never do that.
I know. I'm usually left to the last.
It's because you're in that box. You're in the next box. I just went for it.
I just figured you'd go around the other way, so I ended up last.
Clockwise just feels more natural. Matt's here too.
Hey.
Hi, Matt. You good?
I'm tired.
Tim's here as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprisingly not tired. I actually got to sleep in all the way to 8 o'clock today.
Aren't you lucky?
I had to get up at 4 yesterday for overtime, so that was a nice little.
I was up at 2:30 to go to Disneyland. And it sounds like a complaint, but I was up for 22 straight hours. So
God damn, dude.
No problem.
You know what? Taco Bell tastes so much better at midnight. Guys, I don't know if you guys know this.
What are we doing today? Well, this is 1.21 Gigawatts. This is a movie show. We talk about movies, new release movies. This episode is going to be about Avengers Infinity War, the 22nd movie of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Something like that.
19.
Is it 19? Sorry.
Is that including Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it would.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 10th movie.
Some lists do count it and some don't.
Well, the lists that don't are stupid because it counts as an MCU movie.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start spoiler free as we typically do. We've brought a wide array of opinions here for this. Some of us have loved the MCU all the way through. Some of us have been a bit fatigued with the recent entries, and we'll see where everyone lands on this. Of course, it's the third Avengers movie. It is the build-up of 10 years of, Thanos is coming. Here comes Thanos. Thanos is here. So we'll start spoiler free. Probably just briskly spoiler free. I feel like you'll have like 10 minutes of spoiler free, and then the rest of this, however long it's going to end up being.
There's not a lot to talk about in this movie, so.
Yeah, not much happens.
Yeah.
It's a simple.
I will
story.
say I almost wore a black shirt, but I couldn't find it, and we could have been the black shirted beard crew today.
Oh god, we all have beards now. This is yeah. Connor, shave.
No,
Connor, don't shave.
you.
Just try to grow hair on your cheeks. I know it seems impossible, but
So, Avengers Infinity War. I guess first things first. I'll go around the group. I'll start with Matt. We'll work our way back around counterclockwise, and we will just general impressions. Just did you like it? By how much? Are you pumped? Are you excited? Did you dislike it? Simple stuff. Matt, how do you feel about Infinity War?
yeah, I'm the guy that likes everything, so it should come as no surprise that I really liked it. So
That's not true. I showed you Under the Skin, and I did not get a positive response.
No.
back.
I'm talking when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
I tend to like more than I dislike.
All right, Tim, how did you feel about it?
Holy shit, this movie is amazing. There's like as soon
got
as the
two
movie
ways.
as soon as the movie started, I just had a gigantic grin on my face, and like the entire 2.5 hours, it was either a gigantic grin or I was fighting back tears. It is phenomenal. I literally, I don't know if this has ever happened before, but halfway through the movie, I started getting depressed because I knew it was going to end, and I did not want it to stop. This is like I'm also with Matt. I like pretty much all the Marvel movies. There's like one or two that I'm a little about, but for the most part, I really like them. But I still feel like they are good movies based on comic books. This is the first time I felt like watching a movie where I was like, oh, I'm watching a comic book. Like this is a big, huge event on the screen that I'm watching. It's not just like, just another good adaptation of this. Like this is something special and different. And it was like worth the wait. And it had like some like my favorite characters. Like I love Thanos. I love, big epic, storytelling stuff. And there's a lot of surprises and just everything about it. I cannot be more positive about this. I had such a good time.
By the way, this is the Saving Screams. I'll ask him for his just brisk general thought for a second, and he'll go on for about 5 minutes. Just compare it to Matt's response to the same question. Connor, how did you feel about Infinity War?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I
hell?
felt it was kind of a mess and unsatisfying. There are things I like, don't get me wrong, but overall, just No, and to kind of Tim's point there that it feels like a comic book. Sure, but I don't want that in a movie. They're different mediums. I want it to feel like a movie, and this doesn't. It feels like part of a movie, which is like comics. You get one issue. It's part of a story.
And I think it's good for context here, just to say that you're someone who's been a bit more growingly fatigued since.
Yeah, I did a rewatch of most of them before this. I'd say I like 70% of the movies still, but there's a handful that I've always disliked, and there's some that I just outright, I couldn't even finish. Whereas before I thought they were all right.
Yeah. Well, that takes it to me, and I have intentionally not let any of you three know what I thought about this, because
default already Pete hates everything until I'm proven otherwise.
I like the mystery. I like the mystery, because Tim, I don't like Tim though. Tim, I like the either the horror or the excitement on Tim's face when I give my feelings. It usually goes one way or the other. Because interestingly, I have also been feeling a little bit fatigued. I was underwhelmed with Civil War. I was not a big fan of Civil War. I thought it was okay.
Civil War is is where I finished my rewatch because I couldn't finish it. I got halfway through and was just I'm so bored and had to turn it off.
I understand what you guys mean. Like, it is hard to continually watch really good movies. Like, stop making such good movies. It's so boring. Like, I get what you guys are saying.
So
I'm sorry Steppenwolf wasn't in it. I know that probably would have.
Oh, don't you dare! Don't you dare turn that knife! All right, Justice.
I was very negative on Justice League as well. Thank you very much.
Batman v Superman's my Vietnam. So shut up. Right. So I didn't like Doctor Strange, but I honestly probably was never going to like Doctor Strange because the character doesn't appeal to me. Plus, Scott Derrickson directed it, who directed Sinister, which was also mediocre. So the whole thing, right? And Guardians 1 I really loved, but Guardians 2 I thought I had some good elements, but I thought was overall a little bit underwhelming. I was a little bit disappointed. But I really like Spider-Man. Then I wasn't in love with Thor Ragnarok, but it wasn't bad, but I wasn't in love with it. Then Black Panther was actually pretty good. Shitty CG Final Fight aside, was actually pretty good, I thought. So I've been back and forth a lot over the last 2 years with these Marvel movies.
Damn tennis match.
I know. I just there's somewhere I feel the fatigue, and then there's somewhere I feel like it has its own original spark that makes it work for me, and it makes it work in a different way. And coming into this, I was looking forward to it to an extent, but I was also kind of worried that I was going to feel underwhelmed again. And one of the big things was just like. I remember the event that first Avengers was and how excited I was, despite the fact that I'm a DC guy, despite the fact that I don't really care about Marvel characters that much. That still felt like an event. I still wanted to see it multiple times in the theatre. It was a huge big deal. Now, yes, it was written and directed by the creator of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Joss Whedon.
I'd just like to interject here and point out this long-ass speech is coming from the guy who gave Tim shit for going on a while.
Thank you.
I will let you know that I was the one that fulfilled the prerequisite of keeping it short and sweet.
Well, hey, what? You never seen a hypocrite before?
Yeah.
Shut your face. Right.
We're about to go into what the weather conditions were like on his trek to the theater.
I like to build context. I like to build story for the reveal, right? So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I was hopeful. I like Winter Soldier a lot, so I like the Russo brothers doing that. But Civil War left me underwhelmed. And given that this was going to also have even more characters than Civil War did, there was reason to think, this might leave me with a similar feeling. So,
I used that bated breath, and then he started talking, and I kind of
I just get to the point.
I'm moving the cat. Right. That's not suspense. That's just dealing with cats. Right. I quite liked it. I liked it a lot more than Carter did. I'm happy to say.
Oh, thank God.
Now that one of you guys saw his taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just all kidding aside, honestly, like, it's, everyone has their own opinions. You're entitled to whatever. So, we're joking about, whatever if you're not liking it. But, it's fine. It's a movie. People are going to have different opinions. That being said, though, Connor is definitely wrong about this.
I never joke about Connor being wrong about something. I never joke about that.
Seriously, though, I understand how people could not like this. I mean, it's. I want a better word for slog, but it's an event. It's epic.
Well, you know what? I've been dealing with the last couple of days is I thought that like this was no longer like niche nerd shit. Like I thought it was just a take in that everyone sees all these movies, everyone kind of knows what's going on, even the general public. But I've been talking to a lot of people lately that have been like, oh yeah, you know, I forgot about that. I've missed the last couple of movies. I don't know if I'm gonna see it. And I'm like, are you what? Like, I thought that like this was like super mainstream now. That like everyone, I don't know. I guess maybe I've been taking it for granted because all my friends are comic book dudes. But like,
yeah, but also it set the pre-sale record, so like a lot more people are seeing this than other Marvel movies. So I don't know, like what weird.
It's as well. Even the people who see all these, you know, oh, they're down in the cinema, I'll go see it because it's the event. They don't necessarily rewatch them. So people who saw Civil War, 2 years ago now?
Yeah. They might not seen Strange or...
Yeah. And even if they saw Civil War, they might not have seen it again. So, you know, they saw it once, it's like, okay, that was cool. And then now here, it's like, okay, what happened in that again?
And actually, I mean, real quick, just something that Pete said. I also wasn't a big fan of the Doctor Strange movie, but I do really like the character and actually loved him in this movie. I was actually really surprised. Like, this was the first time I was like, oh no, like I really like what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like, I didn't. It was still easily probably my least favorite
to me,
character.
Doctor Strange is like a spice in a food, to where you might want it there, but if you get too much of it, you're kind of like, well, I'd like this more with like 50% less.
Well, I think it's maybe just that idea that, at least for some people, for me anyway, like, there's some characters who are just, they're fine as part of a big ensemble, but once you have a whole movie focusing on them and what they're up to, it's kind of like,
I have very little complaints about the characters themselves. I feel like could have had some more, you know, growth, some arcs here or there, because for a lot of them, they're where they are, and that's it for the movie.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing about the movie on two fronts. One, this is super serialized. If you have not seen any of the other movies before this movie will not work for you at all. You won't know who anyone is. It just throws you in. It very much does that. And then number two is the character with the arc. Arguably, the protagonist is Thanos.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Anti-protagonist.
Which, even if he's doing bad things, he's still a protagonist.
No, I understand that, but he's... Yes, I'm trying to say, because I feel like you want to root for the protagonist in a movie, right? Like, even a Taxi Driver, you're kind of rooting for Travis Bickle, you know? Like, to not be himself, I guess.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. The protagonist doesn't mean hero. I mean, it's usually the hero, but this is a weird case where it's not. Yeah, but I feel like at no point, unless you're a sociopath, you're rooting for Thanos. Oh, but that's what I'm saying, Matt. You don't have to root for a protagonist. That's what I'm saying.
Actually, right after the movie, Pete sent me a message and said, you know, I think Thanos has a lot of good ideas. I was like, Pete, what are you talking about?
I will say Thanos is probably the most interesting part of the movie because he's one of the best Marvel villains. I'm not going to say outright, but he's definitely in the top because for a start, he has an ideology and motivation that I can understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Let me get on a pedestal for a quick second, because I'm sick of this, of the he doesn't look like Thanos from the comics. And as someone that's a Superman fan, right, Henry Cavill looks like Superman. But none of his actions up until the last third of Justice League did he feel like Superman. So I'd rather have a character act like the character and not necessarily look like they ripped him from the comic page, right? Because I've seen so many people nitpick, this doesn't look like the same. Same
sure, Matt.
Thanos.
Absolutely. Like I agree. Like, you know, how a character acts and what their personality is and who they are is more important than how they look every time.
Exactly. But I feel like a lot of internet comic fans get so hung up on how they look and like one of my closest friends, the first time he saw the trailer, was like, "Oh no, Thanos just looks like Schwarzenegger in the '80s. That's not what Thanos looks like." I was like, dude, he has the bumpy chin and he's purple. What else do you like? As long as he's trying to wipe out half the universe, that's kind of all you really need, and then you can do the rest.
It's funny. I haven't seen anyone complain. Like the visual effects, I've seen criticisms of that for sure, but the actual design, I've not seen anyone complain about.
Come talk to some of the people in my comic shop, and it's very maddening.
That's kind of strange, to me, because I consider myself a pretty big Thanos fan. Like I love the Infinity Gauntlet, and
Mhm.
I've been rereading some Thanos stuff in prep for the movie, like Infinity and that last Thanos series, and I thought they nailed the look pretty well. Like maybe the
Yeah.
armor doesn't look exactly the same, but
Yeah, but
again,
at the
that's
same
like
time, it's like trying to put the X-Men in their blue and yellows. Like, yeah, would
Yeah.
it be cool if they could pull it off? But it's probably gonna look like garbage on the screen. So let's just try to get it as close as
Oh,
possible.
I'll counter that. They did pull that off in X-Men First Class, and it looked
Yeah.
fine.
Yes, but that's because it was also the '60s. And, like, there's a certain look to it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just there was that, and I've seen some criticism based off of that. I'm just like, that's not. To me, he's still Thanos. He still is an interesting villain. You know,
So-
it's like complaining about the Vulture not being an 80-year-old man. It's like, well, no, he still worked. Like,
Yeah.
you
Now
know,
let's talk about Black Widow's hair. Why is she blonde?
I know the answer to this. I figured it out. I actually figured this out.
This is Connor's conspiracy theory. He thinks
This
we're
is-
all
no.
we're all against the gingers. This is all this is.
This is it. Elizabeth Olsen has gone as a redhead for this movie. She wasn't before, and all of a sudden, oh, hang on, we had a redhead. Let's make her blonde. We can't have two of them.
why not?
It would be confusing.
Because Connor's ego of having two gingers in one movie would be too much to take, Matt. That's why.
Here's the thing, though, with when it comes to Black Widow, the fact that she's changed her hair in every movie, as someone that's went through the rewatch and as a fan of Scarlett Johansson, she's had a new look for every single movie she's been in. So
But I'm
it doesn't
still
bother
telling you
me.
this is the reason.
Would I prefer to have red hair? Yeah, but it's not a sticking point.
On a similar note, I want to give my single biggest praise of the movie. My absolute favorite thing is Elizabeth Olsen's god awful accent is finally gone. That atrocious thing she's been doing for the last couple of
Wait,
movies.
wasn't it already gone in Civil War? I remember it being.
It was
changed
lighter.
already.
It was still
lighter?
there.
Okay.
It was still,
But it was toned down.
still awful though.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I remember questioning that why it changed in Civil War, so that's why I remembered it being back.
I don't know. It was still there.
Okay. I'll listen to that
Honestly,
once in the
never
theater,
really
so.
noticed it, but I never really watched them back to back. So
Yeah, she was supposed to be what? From
Sokovian,
Sokovia,
which is
yeah, originally.
Eastern Europe.
everyone knows what a Sokovian accent sounds like. We don't have to talk about it.
It was an atrocious accent, and I'm glad it's gone.
Do you know what? I like the idea that someone in a movie says, "Oh, everyone knows what a Sokovian accent is like." Then she walks out and she's got like a thick Brooklyn accent. That's what Sokovians sound like. Why not?
Yeah, they
Hey,
could.
Viz, get over here.
So
Pre-spoiler wall stuff, I will say, I appreciated how much, even though it was an Avengers movie, certain characters got spotlight.
it definitely didn't
and-
necessarily focus on the bigger ones you maybe think it would. It definitely gave some time
No.
to some smaller characters who you probably weren't expecting to get as much
And I
spotlight.
like that. And I like how it broke up them into certain groups, and you got to hang out with, they were almost where, like Tim said, it was like a comic book. It was almost like certain groups or certain issues, and you could jump back. between them.
It felt kind of like an event where you've got like the secret Avengers over there, you got the mighty Avengers
Yep.
over there, and you got the Guardians team over there, and it kind of felt like it was split up that way. I think just again sticking the spoiler-free stuff, it does have a kind of a weird structure for a movie because of this, because it feels like a series of subplots that all kind of like relate to the main thing going on. Thanos is the main plot, but all these pockets of characters have their own kind of thing that we keep coming back to.
I'd go as far as to say it's not really a movie; it's a sequence of vignettes tied together.
That's a fair
And
analysis
at
of
points, I did get a bit of like tonal whiplash because you had some gritty Avengery stuff, and then you had some wacky zany space guardian and
Yeah.
stuff, and I was just jumping between.
I mean, I
them
think
really
to be
suddenly.
fair, that's just the Marvel formula at this point. I mean, as much as I think that this one breaks formula in a lot of ways, but I do think what I think of first and foremost as Marvel formula is that they will have the quips and they will have the jokes despite the whatever else is going on in the movie.
Yeah, I think the problem was though it was while we were with some characters there wasn't really much quips, or when they were kind of subdued, and then we jump over to like the Guardians and it was totally wacky and zany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
Well,
like okay, this feels
I
like
feel like
completely different.
The Russos were trying to match James Gunn's tone, and this was the first time where you had the Guardians not directed by Gunn.
Although I'm going to
So-
speculate that they probably had Gunn help with the script for their scenes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he jumped
Because
in for that.
it felt fine, but it did feel off. Because you're noticing, like, the voices were there, but it was just different.
I think that's the thing. To its credit, they still feel like the same characters, and but the problem is they feel like it's just another part of a Guardians movie. It doesn't feel like it connects with this Avengers movie necessarily.
Not at first, and certainly not yet. Because this is the thing: like, these groups of characters, for the most part, don't necessarily come back together into one big, group by the end, right? I mean, I don't think that's much of a spoiler to say.
Well, that's why I feel like calling it Avengers. I know why they did it for marketing purposes. And that's kind of just like MCU Infinity War.
Well, yeah, but what do you call it then?
Yeah, you can't.
Marvel's Infinity War.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. It just makes sense to do.
No, they're not.
And here's the thing: thematically, it still ties in because it still feels like it's sort of calling back to the first movie, and because it is despite them dropping the part 1 off the title, it is still very much a part 1 of 2.
Yeah,
and I feel like once you see the whole thing as one big thing, I feel like you will have all the reunions and you'll have the Avengers moments, maybe more so in part 2.
That ultimately is probably my biggest problem with the movie, is they just spent the last 6 months telling me it's a part 1, it's standalone, you'll get your whole movie, and then I come in and go, this doesn't.
I put that on myself.
Well, two points on that. One, I never believed them anyway, because it was still very clear it was still very much a 2-part thing, given how they were coming out back to back, year to year. And 2, I really don't care. It never bothered me. Like,
I think it's the same problem I have with a lot of part 1 of movies, though, that that are split into 2 parts, where I'm like, okay, it's fine, but it doesn't. It just stops, right?
See, I believe Feige when he said that. Oh no, we're switching it up, and it's going to be a standalone, and then 4 will be a follow up, but not necessarily part 2.
It's part 1
and I took that bait, and he reeled me right in. I got to the end of this one and went, oh no, this is a part 1.
I wanted to dispute what Connor just said though about, because I typically have that same problem with part 1s where they split them into, and I'm glad they're kind of stopping that in the whole. I feel like there was a time when after Harry Potter, everyone's going to final movies part 1 and 2,
and even Harry Potter, which that one gets defended, I don't feel that needed to be 2 parts.
Yeah, it still suffered. That first part still suffers for being just the first half of it.
It's better than some other examples of it, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, Hunger Games is a poor example of it as well. I think this handles it better because
I haven't seen it, but yeah.
Yeah, I still think this has a proper ending that feels like a ballsy ending to go out on. And I know once we get to spoilers, we can debate as to how ballsy it actually is, based on what we think's going on and what's happening and so on. But I do genuinely think this has an ending. I think this has a, like, if you're comparing this to a serialized story, I think like an episode of a TV show, and you can critique whether or not you think that works in a movie as well as it does in TV, because I know Connor's going to hit me with that in a minute, but I do think like an episode of a TV show that feels well-rounded as a chapter that's finished, it does have that effect, where at the end it feels like, no, this is your big dark cliffhanger for next one,
Well, and it helps that the Russos come from TV, so they can format that, so...
And I'm sorry.
I was shocked that at the end of that it comes up with the title screen, and I was like, I was sat there waiting for it to say part 1, like almost as a surprise.
Like a certain horror movie with a clown that might have come out last year that didn't tell us it's part 1, and at the end it's like, oh, this is just chapter 1. I will appreciate. I like the stylistic choice, because every single Marvel movie up until this point has had the big flashy CG title sequence at the end, where it's like this, at the end of Avengers, it's the spinning shield as it's Chris Evans' name comes up, and it's the hammer for Thor, Chris Hemsworth comes up. This is just plain black, just text. It's subdued. It's this is your sinister movie.
Almost to the point where I wish there wasn't a post-credit scene. This is the one where you don't do a post-credit scene. Really shake it up. Just end nah.
Apparently, they debated it. They debated whether to leave it off. I actually liked them. Obviously, we'll save it for spoilers, but I do actually like the post-credit scene itself.
I like it in itself, but the effect of not having it probably would have been a lot stronger.
Well, see, I like how my audience reacted, because the movie ended, and it's never been that quiet. Like, when a Marvel movie ends, there's like, I don't want to say a ruckus, but there's an energy, and everyone's waiting for the post-credit scenes, and like, Guardians is going to give you 6 of them in Volume 2. And here you could hear a pin drop, and then as soon as the post-credit scene, that energy came back.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a spoiler to say the post-credit scene has a glimmer of hope that maybe there's something else to happen. But here's why I think the ending's ballsy. Before we even get to spoilers and talk about what actually happens, I think the reason why the ending's ballsy, as much as we're all comic nerds and we're all saying, well, this means this and this means that, so you don't have to necessarily read everything at face value and so on and so forth. I still think it's ballsy, because imagine a 9-year-old seeing this and how it ends.
Well, yeah, like I've heard some people talking about how, like, at the showings they've had like
Children distraught,
younger,
crying in the streets afterwards.
yeah, but like, yeah, like they had like younger people in there that are kind of like, like they could hear after the movie being like what, like is this really happening? And like, I think, yeah, like as comic savvy people, I think we're making our own like insight as to like what's going to happen with the next one, but it is interesting for a general audience to see how they're going to react to that.
Do you know what, just for the sake of this, we're starting to hint at things. I think we'll just put the spoiler warning here, full spoilers from this point on, and
Cross that rainbow bridge.
yeah, because I feel like we want to talk about the ending before we go back and talk about everything else, because it's kind of the biggest thing to talk about. So full spoilers from this point on for Infinity War. So here's the thing, right? I think it's very easy to say, okay, so Thanos spends the movie getting the glove. We'll talk about, structure a bit more and how it relates to him getting the glove and the stones and everything else. But Thanos gets the glove, he snaps his fingers, and they change his motivations here, where he's just trying to wipe out half the universe because he has this, this balance thing where, there's too much life if you take away half.
Overpopulation for the reasons, essentially.
Yeah. And
I like that reason versus his comic book reason, which is he's trying to court death, like personified. So I like that he actually has this is what happened to my planet.
I mean,
I
like
want it
that
to happen again.
I like that reason from the comic, but admittedly, I think this feels a bit more grounded and has a bit more weight to it for a movie, as opposed to just this magical death being that I'm trying to
I like this as a motivation.
Yeah.
I do.
So he snaps his fingers, and we get this, painstaking 5-minute sequence of lots of heroes, and presumably like lots of. Cause this is the thing, the post-credit sequence. Connor will appreciate this, but as soon as it got to the post-credit sequence, I went, "This is the leftovers. This is what happened. Thanos snapped them all out of reality."
Yeah.
Well, it's the rapture, right? Like.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, in biblical terms, but no, the scene in the post-credit scene where the car gets hits something and there's someone just missing. That's the opening scene of the leftovers, and the entire mystery of that show is that all these people disappeared.
My stupid self goes post-credit scene. This is like, I don't know what to think because the ending is just like a haymaker, square to the jaw, and Fury and Hill show up and like a helicopter crashes, and I go, wait, is there another alien invasion going on?
I had the tiniest vain hope that it was like going, right, Coulson, come on.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Like, why would I even think that?
I
know where this is going, because we were kind of predicting where it was going for the last few months.
Yeah.
Somebody call Iron Fist.
I was like, please.
Oh god damn! You shut your mouth! You shut your whole mouth, Tim! You shut your whole mouth!
So like, I'm thinking, I know where it's going with, because we hadn't seen Shield at all, because this is very space focused, cosmic-y. We haven't really on Earth, except for Wakanda, and you get Hill and Fury, and I'm thinking, oh well, we haven't gotten any Captain Marvel hints at all, so maybe we're gonna have like kind of a flashback or something, and then they pop up on screen, and I go, oh cool, and then I remember hearing Skrulls might be part of that movie, so I'm thinking, oh great, this is gonna see that movie, and it's a direct reaction to.
It's just an SOS. It's, hey, we need a big gun. Captain Marvel, because we just see the symbol on the pager. But that was a step ahead. What I was actually getting to, so the ending in the movie is we see like a lot of the heroes just fade away out of existence. They turn to dust. There was an audible person behind me, a woman, as Groot was fading away, went, no! Because, Rocket's like watching him, and it's all very emotional, right? And I think, so first things first, we'll talk about this in a minute, but clearly it's very notable that all of the original 6 Avengers, I mean, admittedly Hawkeye's not in the movie, so maybe he's faded away, but unlikely. But all the original Avengers seem to be the ones who survive, with a few extras, right? All the new characters seem to fade away. Now, obviously, the clear thing is here, is that everyone that faded away is absolutely coming back. There is no question in my head that is happening.
Yeah, I have a theory.
And you could say that deflates the ending, and admittedly, maybe it does a little bit, but here's the thing. I still think the ending's ballsy to end your big summer blockbuster that's very family friendly, and every single movie's ended with the good guys winning. To end it this way, I still think has a little bit of balls to it. Maybe not as much, but still some balls.
This is what I can imagine my dad went through when he went and saw Empire Strikes Back. Because it was quiet, like I said. And I don't even remember there being an end score. Like, I'm sure there was, but in my brain, it was quiet. It
And
felt
to
like
be-
a funeral.
And if we're comparing it to Empire Strikes Back, I think it's also worth mentioning that this ends in more of a downer than that does, because Empire Strikes Back, it still has the heroes together. It's okay, we'll live to fight another day. There's still kind of a bitter sweetness to the end of Empire. Whereas this is like, Thanos won, he sits down, and it's like, finally, cut to title.
I will say, as much as they're all coming back. I think it deflated for me a little because it was everyone that vanished are the ones that I know that have to be
Have
back
sequels,
in some
yeah.
capacity. If there was a bit of a mixture, like, oh, these ones don't necessarily need to be back, they're supporting cast, that sort of thing, I'd be a bit more.
What I think's
okay,
interesting
you could at
about
least
that
play it a little bit.
is that they're actually, Feige said that they're flat out avoiding announcing what's coming after Avengers 4 until it's out. And I think that's part of to help this, but unfortunately people nagged them so much about Guardians 3. We know Guardians 3 exists. We know there's a Spider-Man 2 because Sony insisted on announcing
There's
that.
a Black Panther 2.
Absolutely. So that is a factor. That absolutely is a factor, and I think that does deflate it a little bit. I still think it works, and I think it works for me because I know these are the ones. All the ones that fade away are the ones that are sticking around. This has me convinced more than ever that the deaths that we're going to have that are permanent are the ones that are going to come in the next movie, and it's more than likely going to be at least a couple of the original Avengers that are going to die.
I agree, and that's fair. I liked some of the deaths earlier on because I felt finally consequence stakes because we've not actually had any hero deaths really in the Marvel universe yet.
Not really. Everyone came back basically if they have died. So let's use that to go all the way back to the start and work our way through, right? Let's go back to the opening with they're on the Asgard ship, Loki and that. I don't know where Valkyrie and that pissed off to, but I guess they got away.
Yeah, that kind of upset me. But we'll see.
No cold.
Yeah, what I will say I liked here, right, is, first of all, my favourite of the Children of Thanos, who already is better than most of the Marvel movie villains on his own.
Are you talking about Ebony?
Ebony Maw, yeah. He's good.
Yeah, what's up, Tim?
I was just gonna say, I really, I was a big fan of him, especially Ebony Maw. I just loved how weird and creepy.
Also, by the way, actually, speaking of the leftovers, Carrie Coon was the female Children of Thanos.
Proxima Midnight.
That's the one.
And I only know these names because I have Wikipedia up.
Yeah, they didn't say any of these names, did they?
Yeah. Except for Glaive. That little hobgoblin looking dude.
Yeah,
right.
I think a couple of the characters would. I think one of them might say Ma's gonna come after you or something like that, but it would be hard if you don't already know who the characters are.
I think what I loved about the opening though, right, is two things. One of course they got out the what if Hulk fights Thanos thing. They got that out of the way really quickly. But I actually really like the callback, Loki actually stepping in and saying, "Oh, and furthermore, we have a Hulk," which I think that's a great callback to the first Avengers.
Fist pumped.
Yeah. That's really nice. And then I think I expected Loki to die. I don't know if I expected it in the opening scene.
I kind of did, and I like what he did because it's Loki doing Loki things.
But to save the day, he tries to deceive him to save the day. So he's kind of he's on our side. We're rooting for him to deceive him.
Yeah.
I was kind of pissed because, I don't know if you guys saw it, but before the movie came out, I kept seeing annoying people sharing stupid articles saying which Marvel character dies in the first 10 minutes of Avengers. Shut up! Why do these dumb articles exist?
I did laugh at there's been interviews, all the red carpet interviews and stuff. It was Loki and Falcon, so what's it like when your characters meet and they have to just stand there and answer this question?
See, if I was those two, if I was Mackie and Hiddleston, I would have created a whole story.
Yeah.
You should see this one scene where they're at each other's throats and then they become best friends.
Do you know the fact is I feel that question's easy to answer because there's some characters in this who do never meet, but it's just because the plots are separate. It's not because their fates are actually
I agree, but
doomed.
It's funny because obviously that's the expectation for this movie going in for a lot of people was, it's all these characters meeting for the first time.
And we did get some fun crossover stuff with that. But there you go, Matt. I was just...
I've never been a big Hulk guy, but through Ruffalo's Hulk, I've really grown to have an affection for him. So to see him just get the tar beaten out of him, by Thanos, Hulk's strong, but he's just there's no technical skill.
Actually, I do have one critique of this. Actually, that I was thinking about later in the movie is that Thanos is strong enough to put down Hulk right now with 2 stones in his glove, right? Or maybe I've just had one actually. this was before he got the second stone. At the
Yeah,
end of
yeah,
the
you
scene.
get the power stone,
Yeah.
but
And he knocks down Hulk just with some punches, basically, right? But later on in the movie, Cap's taking a punch from Thanos at one point, and he's okay. And I'm like, well, I mean, if that punch was enough to knock out Hulk, I feel like Cap's face should be like dust.
It's true. You got like Iron Man and a couple of the Guardians holding him down.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like okay.
Power level's a bit fluctuating there, is all I'm saying.
it does.
Yeah.
But I did like how it showed him like hitting combos and doing, mixed martial arts style.
He's a fighter,
Muay Thai knees. Yeah, and you just see what somebody with, maybe he's not as strong as Hulk, but he's a tactician and what he can do, and just.
No, I do appreciate it's the classic of. It's what we in Star Wars, Vader is the benchmark, right? And then it's like, oh, someone's worse than that, or that's the level that everything's based around. Like the reason Boba Fett has a reputation is because Vader says something to him, and it's okay. Well, we know that's Vader's opinion of him, so we use that as the benchmark. And here, it's doing the same thing with Hulk. It's going, okay, so we know Hulk, we know what to expect, we know what he can do. And Thanos does it like this at this level of ease or difficulty, and it's like, okay, so now we place Thanos' power. We know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice setup too to how you kind of take Hulk off the board for the rest of the movie, because he gets like his ass handed to him, and then he's like scared to come out now. So
I didn't take so much
running around.
I didn't take it so much as scared as he was embarrassed.
This is part of my problem with this. I assume he's scared because it's the first time he's ever been beaten, right? Or that we've seen, and now he's like, okay, I'm scared because I didn't know I could be beat. Mm-hmm. But this is part of my problem with this movie being, it has no. I don't get any satisfaction from this plot because it doesn't go anywhere. We get hints that he might be scared, but it doesn't tell us that. It's me projecting that onto it. It ends with with Bruce saying, "Hey, we should have a talk about this," and that's it. It doesn't actually go anywhere. It's just a setup for an idea, and that's part of my problem. I don't get any.
I disagree because it was there. Because every time you want to see him turn into Hulk, you get the Hulk's voice going no, and it shows that he has some control over the transformation as well.
Right.
This whole time we always just thought you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And then in Avengers, we learned that, no, he's always angry, so he can do it at will. So now when it's, what happens if Hulk doesn't want to come out? So I like how it flips the,
I get
the
that,
idea of what Hulk is.
There's no resolution to the plot. It doesn't go, it sets it up. It sets up, okay, here's a premise, but it doesn't do anything with it. It doesn't go anywhere with it.
So will you like if once like part 2 comes out, if there is like a big resolution to it and like a big reveal when the Hulk finally comes out, would that make you look at it differently in this movie? Or?
I think I will like it in that movie, but I will still feel this movie suffers for it. It's the same. We were talking about other part 1s, how they suffer.
Yeah.
The part 2 is often very good and has all these resolutions. It's got all this great stuff in it, but the part 1 still suffers because it's lacking all this stuff. I think I'll feel the same way.
It didn't bug me so much because, like I say, the main plot feels like it does close off for this movie to feel like a complete chapter. I don't necessarily mind there's a couple of plot threads of other things being left over. I mean, I definitely agree it's not concluded. It's definitely not finished. Like, it is left kind of just completely dangling.
You know how much I'm going to pop when it's not regular Hulk that shows up, but it's Mr. Fix-It? Like, the Grey Hulk?
It's also worth mentioning here,
that.
they deliberately tricked us by having Hulk in the Wakanda sequences in the trailers.
Yeah.
Which is actually, like Thor Ragnarok, they intentionally misled us with trailers.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, because I like being surprised. I have a friend at work that actively, when this premiered, I think Monday, that its big premiere, he was actively looking for spoilers. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, do you want to sit in the theater? He's like, yeah, no, the way I view things is, like, I can know it's coming, but I just want to see it on the big screen play out. And I was like, all right, that's cool, but if you say anything, I'm going to try to wait taken.
There are studies that some people do enjoy movies more, or stories in general more, if they know the ending. They're not thinking about where it's going. They're not guessing. They just enjoy it for what's there.
Okay, so I think the best way to tackle this from after the opening scene is probably just to tackle each group, sequentially, rather than jumping around, because it'll be impossible to actually remember when it cut to what. So, who do you want to tackle first? Who's first? they want to do the Iron Man Spider sort of like side of things. They want to do the Guardians Thor side of things. They want to do
Iron Spider. Yeah.
Iron Man and Spider Man.
Yeah.
I hate that Iron Spider suit, by the way. Just get it out of the way.
I love the
I
legs.
hate it in the comics, but I thought they used it pretty well here.
In fact,
Considering the relationship between Stark and Peter.
Speaking of suits, here's one legit criticism I have of this. This is easily the worst Iron Man suit has ever looked.
Yeah, it looks super CG.
Yeah, I thought it looked bad. And just a personal thing for me, I think as much as nanobots to like make it like form around them makes sense from that's the next step. It is nowhere near as satisfying as seeing mechanical parts click into place. I love that part of him.
The biggest problem is it's that stupid vest thing that he's wearing for it to come out of, and I'm like, that looks stupid.
Yeah. So Tim, you're much more into the Marvel comic side of things than us three. This is basically the bleeding edge armor from Fractions Run, right? Like,
that's what it looked like to me. Yeah.
Like, because he if I remember things right, he injected himself with these nano things and then he housed himself in his spine or whatever.
I think that was the Extremis arc with Warren Ellis. That's when he first got like the nano stuff.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I said, I get that it makes sense that that's the advancement. I just don't think it looks anywhere near as good. And on top of that, I think the CG for the actual suit when it was on looked the worst it's ever looked.
It's a little less satisfying than it flying towards him, and I think we kind of get that from the Iron Spider suit.
Yeah, but I don't know if I necessarily want Spider-Man to have that kind of suit though.
But
as long as it's for this. As long as it's for this movie and he goes back to the traditional.
Oh, sure, yeah.
For the next one, I'm okay.
Yeah, I didn't really have much of a problem with it. Like, I didn't like the design of like the spider emblem and stuff on his chest, but those mechanical legs I just think looked really cool. Like, I agree, I don't want to see it like in all the movies coming forward, but in this movie, I thought it was like a cool extra effect.
Yeah. So
and with Iron Man 2, I also the CGI didn't bother me. Maybe I wasn't looking close enough, but I kind of liked all the like extra like powers and stuff it had that I feel like we haven't seen before, like that kind of like little rocket thing with his feet and the cannon and stuff. Like all of that I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, the repulsor stuff that comes off of it and to help him fight New York.
I think
cool.
Also, I laughed every time he called Doctor Strange a wizard.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah. I like that running gag, especially when the Banner's there and he's trying to Hulk out and he can't. He's like, "You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards." That was a nice little laugh.
And also, probably one of my biggest laughs was due in the beginning with Spider-Man when he's on the bus and he goes to Ned. He's like, "I need you to cause a distraction." And he just turns around and goes, "We're all gonna die," and everyone's like, "What?"
Yeah, my favorite part is I don't even think he's intentionally causing a distraction. He literally just turns around and goes, sees it and goes, "We're all gonna die." I'm like, "Oh, that worked."
Yeah, it's just Ned being Ned. Yeah.
So the movie actually kind of kickstarts. We see, Pepper. Hamdell's dying, but he managed to send Bruce Banner back to Earth with his last dying breath. He's like, Bifrost, thingamajig.
Sorry, I just have to something I have to interject here. And
okay.
Matt, let me know if this seemed weird to you. But later on in the movie, like Thor mentions he's seen his like best friend die, which I guess he's talking about Heimdall.
Do you know?
Friends?
I agree because when he said because he's going through the list with Rocket, he's like, "Oh, my mother, my father, my brother, everyone." And he's like, "And I saw my best friend get stabbed through the heart," and I went, "He wasn't that close to Coulson."
No. That was a misstep, but I do feel from the Thor movies, him and Heimdall, maybe not best friends.
That's the thing. They have a good relationship, but best friends has got to be one of the Warriors 3, surely.
Yeah, I feel like
did I get Sif dying?
No, she was just gone in Ragnarok. That was one of my complaints about Ragnarok. Is she was just missing the entire time for no reason.
Exactly, and the worst. But that Heimdall stuff did. He is one of my favorite supporting characters throughout.
I love
Saldana.
And to see him.
Here the way that he sticks it to Thanos.
Oh, and he's totally staying dead as well. He's absolutely a stay dead character.
No, I think so. I think those two, him and Loki, are definitely dead, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
On this, I was gonna save it till the.
Wait till we get to the plot, Matt, because we're going through the sections. Right, let's stick to Iron Man and Spider-Man. Let's keep this somewhat structured.
Structured in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, look at the dice coming from the car. So you know, big ship goes down. Doctor Strange there. What's Benedict Wong's character's name again?
Oh,
Was
wow.
it?
Wong. Oh, yeah, it's just Wong. That's right. That's why it was easy to remember when I saw Doctor Strange. So having Wong and the fighting the children of Thanos, and it's all going down. And there's some fun fight stuff here with the Iron Man suit and everything else. Cars falling on things, all the rest of it. But it's all basically build up to they've captured Doctor Strange because he's got the stone, and Iron Man goes up. Spider-Man against Iron Man's will goes up. All that stuff happens. So we get them in the ship, the big donut ship. That's going through space it ends up going to Titan, but that's where it's going. So they're in the space. I mean, there's multiple characters in space, but they're one team's in space, and you've got this group of characters, and there's a lot of jokes in the movie that feel like it was, we're going to like do a sort of greatest hits of like running gags from previous movies. One of them was that Spider-Man's like, I've seen this old movie, and by the way, I love that this came out on Alien Day, and there was an Aliens reference in the movie. That was good
when
stuff.
that happened, I went, "This is all Pete's going to talk about."
You know it. Because Joe's fight, as soon as he said aliens, like, what are they going to do? What? And I was trying to think of aliens. Like, what's the plan? What's the plan based on aliens?
I always thought that, has Tony got an even bigger mech suit?
Oh, yeah. Get away from you, bitch. Yeah, it could have been that. Yeah.
That's what I thought one of them was going to say, get away from him, but yeah, it's I guess technically that would be aliens.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the best callback joke.
He said aliens. Okay.
Aliens, yeah. The best callback joke, bar none, though, is when Thor says to the Guardians, the Avengers, and Star's like, who's that? It's like, Earth's mightiest heroes, and Mantis goes, like Kevin Bacon, right? Yeah. That cracked me up, and then Thor's. Well, I've not been there for a while, so he might be on the team now.
and we have to follow up that later. Yeah.
Oh, the Flashdance joke?
The Flashdance joke. And the Spider-Man as well, where he's like, is it still the best movie that was ever made? He's like, it never was. And then Peter's like, there's this look of, like, I'm going to kill you, little shit. How dare you say that?
Yeah, because Peter Quill is basically the same age as Spider-Man mentally. Like, he never really aged past that. So.
I just said mentally, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, we've missed something here. Matt's onto the weird side of this. So they go through space and all that. So, they actually had less to do than obviously you had the fun action scene of them like getting Maw out the ship through the hull.
He went out. I was so happy because he was easily the best of Thanos's Black Order. Yeah, and because he's the type of villain that it resonates with me. Like, he's like Glorious Godfrey from the Fourth World, where he's just a mouthpiece and whatnot. So. They're more in the flashback. It just made my skin crawl.
I have very little opinion on any of the Black Order. They're all just kind of there for things to hit.
Well, he's the one though that again with me and things that
I like Maw. I'll accept that for the big dude and then the other guy. I think Maw and then to an extent Midnight. What?
The big dude and the other guy.
I don't remember. They didn't say their names. I don't know who's who.
No, Pete, that's fine. I just love that that's the shorthand. We all know who you're talking about.
There was four. Yeah. There was the cool one, which was Maw. There was the lady Proxima Midnight, who had a bit of a sinister look to her. And then there was the big muscly one. And then do you know what? I like that they actually used Strange's portal to get rid of him. I was like, just teleport him away somewhere. Like, and they did that. It was like, here's the Arctic. Piss off.
The mocap for him.
I do not know who did the mocap for him now.
So it's Terry Notary who also did the mocap for Kong Skull Island.
And Teen Groot.
And Teen Groot, he also did. So I found that out and went, oh, that's cool. Like, he's making an ish like circus. So
and obviously, eventually, like half the Guardians end up with them. Basically, everyone but Gamora, and then obviously Rocket and Groot are off with Thor. So, and they have their whole plan. And I like that they actually had a proper plan. It wasn't just this: I'll run up and punch Thanos immediately. It was kind of like, first of all, throw a building on top of him, and then Mantis try to use her powers to sort of subdue him while they all try to do their thing. I think some people will rightly be frustrated with Star-Lord for him ruining this plan.
That's the point, right? Like.
I think, like, I mean, I think it was kind of obvious to see it coming, like.
Oh, sure,
but it's one of those things where it's kind of like I give it a little bit of a pass, even though it's like, come on, dude, you should have just controlled yourself.
It's like, this is going too well, so we've just got to have one of them screw it up. And I'm like,
and of course,
fine, I guess we need a plot.
And
Well, he's too emotionally invested in Thanos and this at this point.
yeah, and we had the fake out with Stark's death, which did kind of work because we were kind of expecting one of them to die. So we're like, oh, Stark's dying.
Yeah.
Why not?
But I like what they did. I like with Doctor Strange there and him going through the different scenarios with the time stone.
Well, that's the big thing
cool.
we have to talk about, because that's the biggest hint of like what's going on here, is that I think most people kind of agree that the reason, because I think some people like who didn't get this kind of critique that he just gives them the stone. He basically just decides, especially since earlier on in the movie, Strange is like, I'll sacrifice both you and Spider-Man to, save this stone because it's more important. And then, at the end, he just gives it up to save Iron Man. It's like, well, whatever, and it's like, but it's actually quite clear because he says, I looked at 14 million possibilities. There's only one which we won. This is part of what has to happen for them to win.
It's I've had complaints on Twitter. This is not one of them. This is obviously okay. So in the one that they won, he did this.
To quote a villain from the better comic universe, it's all part of the plan.
What? You better be talking about like the Hellboy universe or something.
Sure, Tim. Sure.
The only one I'll accept.
Sure. I wasn't quoting the Joker, not at all. But yeah, and I do like that. I like the idea that he saw the only way that the Avengers were going to win is that we have to kind of fail first, and then they have to succeed after the fact. So I mean, I like that part of it.
It's very fine. Joseph Campbell, Belly of the Whale, in the hero's journey. Like you have to be at your lowest low so you can climb back out.
Yeah. All that works quite well. And so that was basically their side of things. Obviously, it was heartbreaking for Stark. Spider-Man's fading away. He's like the father figure now.
That was probably like the most emotional one.
That's I had tears, and I give all the credit to Tom Holland there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because just like a little bit before that, you had the scene where Tony anoints him as an Avenger, and like he gets like this little happy he doesn't overdo
when you see
it.
He literally just goes like, do okay, you're an Avenger now. get on the mission.
And we know how he feels about May and whatnot from Homecoming, and how he's able to get out trapped under that building in that movie. So the fact there's stakes for him, that him not making it back where he's not supposed to be there in the first place.
Oh yeah. Peter Parker in pain is usually the most relatable Peter Parker, and that.
Yeah. And I'm not a Spider-Man guy. Like I don't have a love of that character, but I love Tom Holland's version so much.
Well, that's funny because the reason why he's good is because he's actually Spider-Man, unlike the previous movie versions.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because I've tried to read Spider-Man comics and none of them really do it for me.
The only one that stuck with me is Blue.
Yeah, Blue. I like Blue a lot.
It was great.
But I understand who Spider-Man's supposed to be. I did watch the 90s cartoon. Like that's my entry level to Spider-Man. Right? Like it's so crazy. So for Holland just to be that emotional, and he starts, I'm sorry, and don't let me go. I don't want to go. Like, oh man, I'm welling up just thinking about that scene.
I think at this point I was kind of like, I understand why this is emotional. I understand the acting is very good. I understand that from the characters they think they're dying, but I'm like, this is all temporary.
Connor, you think it goes to magic
I found it really hard to connect.
So, do you even like comic books though? Because that's like anytime someone dies in a comic book, they're coming back.
I complain about that all the time.
He does. To be fair to Connor, which that's rare, he does. But no, Connor, for real, are you the guy that goes to a magic show going, "No, I know there's mirrors involved." Like this
no,
because it's
not about how it's done, which is the magic trick there. Like I with that I respect the skill of they've got a craft that they've done this. Right?
To be fair, that's the equivalent of him going to a movie and saying, "Oh, this is just all fake with cameras and lights and effects."
Yeah, this here is like it's hard for me to connect to the emotional beat where I'm like, well, give it a year, they're going to be back, and it's hard to actually care that they're gone.
I think the reason why it works for me is because it's the idea that the motivation for them to succeed next movie is that maybe they can bring, because keep in mind we're dealing with this gauntlet which can literally rewrite reality. We have a MacGuffin that can save the day if they get control of it. They can do it.
Because I understand, taking yourself outside of the movie and looking at the real life aspect of this is a movie and I know it's gonna work out in the next movie. But if you like, and admittedly, if if you're not into the movie, it might be hard to lose yourself into it. But if you do get absorbed into the story and kind of like lose yourself to it.
I think my problem is they went too far. They did too many of them disappearing for it. If there had been less of them that had vanished, I think it would have been much more effective for me, because it would have felt like, those ones mattered. We still got to save them, and they're still going to come back. But when it was a big long sequence of everyone disappearing that by the time we got around to it, I'm just like, okay, I'm done with this now.
It's worth mentioning. I want to point out here at the end of this movie, Stark is alone on Titan with only Nebula, I believe, is the only other one who survived on Titan. It's just those two, and I'm like, how's he going to get back? He's just stranded on a planet on his own. Nebula.
He's gonna turn Nebula into a spaceship because she's all mechanical, which I wasn't aware of.
Well, I mean, the Guardians not come on a ship?
That's true. Well, I mean, Nebula can fly it, I suppose.
The only Guardian that's left is Rocket, and he's on.
No, I mean, when they arrived.
There's a ship there, they can fly it. And
yes.
If
when Star-Lord and that arrived. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone can figure the tech out to fly, it'll probably be.
Nebula flying back.
It's that complicated. It always seems like Quill just sits down and flies.
So,
do you want to transition to the Guardians?
Yeah, well, let's do Rocket, Groot, and Thor. Of course, I
would watch a movie of just Thor and Rocket.
I would not be opposed to it. All that stuff at the start when they first find him, and they're talking about how beautiful he is. Was it Angel Pirate?
Pirate Angel.
And then
he's a Pirate Angel.
Quill getting jealous and trying because he thinks Thor's being nice to Gamora, and he's like, "Oh no, I've also."
I always talk.
I've also went through things.
That was great.
You're imitating my voice. No, I'm not.
Yeah. So real quick with Thor. So they, we all know I love Superman. They turned Thor into Superman. He's
that
the last
furnace scene was the most Superman I've ever seen in a movie.
on Nidavellir. Which is just the fact that we get Nidavellir as a planet,
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say my personal disappointment. This doesn't have any impact. This is just for me. I'm like, as soon as Rocket pulls out the eye, I'm like, oh, I was digging the eye patch. I like this look.
Do you know what I liked about that though? Is we've established that he steals body parts that are mechanical from people.
Yeah, that's the thing. It plays, it works, but I was like, damn, I really like the eye patch look. It's really working for me.
Which is why
it makes me think that Hemsworth was just bumping into stuff on the set, and they're like, we gotta give him his eye back somehow.
Because
I did appreciate though that it was different coloured. A different colour eye.
And then it also because it was a reference at the end as well when he meets Bucky. He's like, I'm getting that arm.
Oh, that was another great sequence.
Which we all, as soon as we saw the first Guardians movie and he wanted the leg, right?
There's going to be a joke with Bucky eventually.
He was hopping around.
Yeah.
He kind of did the math when he meets Bucky.
Yeah, he's going to want the arm. There. Yeah, it's such a weird thing for a character to have a thing. He wants
people's mechanical parts.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
How has he not tried to steal everything from Nebula?
I think he has, and she's just, she's that lethal.
So yeah, Thor and Rabbit was a nice pairing. So yeah, the good thing, and obviously you get Peter Dinklage, who ironically is much taller than everyone else. That was a nice joke.
Still playing it, admittedly.
A dwarf, but obviously in this lore, dwarves are this big.
Giant dwarf.
Giant dwarf. So you have the whole thing where it's the dying star, and he has to spin up the rings to make it ignite, so they can make the axe. What's it called? You'll know, Matt.
Stormbreaker. But it looks like the ultimate, Mjolnir. But it's got the name Stormbreaker, which is Beta Ray Bill's mallet. But its purpose is much more to Yarn. So it's this flippin' amalgam.
I wonder why they chose to call it Stormbreaker, given they could have gone with
maybe
because after Mjolnir and all the Mjolnir and all the people struggling to pronounce it, I think they just wanted something that was easy to say.
And that's fine. And I'm more partial to Yarn because it translates to Iron Bear. Okay, so
of course you're like that.
Yeah, and it's more of an axe. And so this stuff got leaked with the toys. And I was just like, no, that's not Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker's a mouse.
Stormbreaker's still a hammer, right? It's rounded.
Yeah.
You go on the Guardians ride at Disneyland, and they have it in a case in the collector's.
Right. Because I actually just read that that Beta Ray Bill story for the first time 2 or 3 weeks ago.
The Walt Simonson one.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Oh, nice.
And the whole purpose from Uncanny Avengers of Yarnbjorn was, he had it enchanted to kill a Celestial. So it had this one purpose to be this ultimate weapon that could take him out.
And that kind of jives with what they're doing in this, where it's like, this is a weapon to kill
Exactly. Fine.
Thanos.
So-
Yeah.
There's another one of those times where it's like, well, let's see what they do with the movie before I judge things. And now I'm not going to say how much time I've spent looking for a replica of Stormbreaker, but I need to.
And obviously, you get a
love
big
that,
thing. I was just going to say, it's very kind of almost all-star Superman when he's actually holding the rings and he's like the solar lights like hitting him. It's very reminiscent of that.
It's sad to me that the best Superman representation of the last 20 years is Thor in Infinity War. So,
yeah, that's after Lois and Clark. I'll give you it.
yeah.
Well, actually, hold on. Live action. I think we're discounting the animated series here.
Yeah, I'm discounting the animated stuff. Yeah. But I'm just saying, of the live action, it's better than anything, and I love Cavill.
Although that said, but if you actually finally get around to watching Krypton, you'll be very excited with some elements of that.
They're banking. It's fine. I'm
Oh.
done.
There's a
Marvel,
review. Hey Matt,
time to catch.
there's a reveal at the end of episode 5 that made me and Connor lose our shit. Lose
It's
our
the most
shit.
exciting thing possible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, stop building that up because I don't need that right now.
Okay, so
I do want to say I love that like Groot is like part of the
Stormbreaker. I was just going to bring up the moment where Dinklage is like, no, it won't work unless it has a handle, and then Groot, who's just been this moody tearjer all movies, like, you know
Playing
what,
on his game.
I'm stepping up, and he just makes this handle for it, and it's like, and I will say this, like, I'm not as hyped after this as I was the first Avengers. It's not quite completely recaptured the magic for me, but I did pop for the entrance when Thor arrived with because they set up in the scenes like, oh, this can open the Bifrost itself, right? They set that up, and when they land, the theme's playing, and my favorite part of it in the middle of the whole Wakanda battle is Rocket just cocking his gun. It's just him, Thor, and Groot, and Rocket's just cocking his gun, and he's like, "Yeah, we're here to save the day, bitches. It's on."
I had a few
costume.
problems with the CG when Thor was flying around with his lightning.
Yeah, it looked a bit ropey, I'll admit.
It did.
But that's the Koi Pell costume from the JMS run.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, so because in that run, Thor's disappeared, and Ragnarok's happened, and he slowly has to bring Asgard back. And when he becomes Thor again, that's his costume, and just the red on the black just pops, and it's an entrance.
Okay, so, I do have one complaint I want to bring up about the Thor plot though. I like it a lot. I love his big entrance. I love Groot making the hammer. I love Dinklage being there. There was a joke at one point where someone, what it says, like, oh, that means die. Yeah, that's what that means, to die. Like, that was a funny little joke. I forget the exact phrasing, but it was a funny little thing where it was basically a synonym, and he's like, no, that's what that means. It means. But my one complaint, and that's really bugged me, is at one point Thor is basically just speaking in space.
Mm-hmm.
That brings my piss to a boil. To a boil. Like, I will accept lots of wonky space physics. It's just, Marvel movie, whatever. Like, okay, it works differently. But he is just flat out standing on the ring at one point, and he's talking. And I'm pretty sure they're in space. He's just in space.
Do you know what
I could rationalize it, but I won't. I won't waste our time because we gotta get this movie.
Yeah. I was just like, quickly, there was a thing in Last Jedi you complained about some space physics, and I said, yeah, but Star Wars has always had these wonky space physics. In this universe, in like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they go out of their way to set up the space physics. We have whole sequences out in space of, okay, this is how long you can survive. We need comms.
I think speaking in a vacuum is just one of those things that will annoy me no matter what. Because I don't mean sound. Like, some things just make the choice. We're going to have sound in space, even though there shouldn't be, and that's fine. I know speaking in space is essentially the same complaint, but it's not. Because it's not big explosions and shit. He's literally just speaking in space.
No,
Anyway, it's not a big deal. Once it was over, it's fine. But it bugged me at the time. We can move on.
Once they show up on Wakanda, it was holy crap.
It was a popping moment. All the little more combinations. We mentioned Rocket with Bucky. Even I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. That was a funny little moment.
Steven and Thor's it's not quite a bromance, but their partnership.
Oh yeah, you copied my beard.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to transition to the? Do you want to transition to the kind of what do you call it? Like
Cap.
Steve and
Yeah,
Wanda and Vision and
the
stuff.
Secret Avengers, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that team.
So
This probably, skipping ahead a little bit, but Steve's first entrance on like the subway platform that got a huge applause. in my
Edinburgh
theater.
train station. Let's get it right.
Most of it was from my wife, though. She was like,
It was a good entrance. I like that.
Cap's her guy.
He basically has the shit squad, and they're all not that powered in his team, right? At that point, obviously, once they've got Scarlet Witch and Vision with them, it's a different ballgame. But it's all like, I mean, sure, Falcon can fly around, but he's still just a guy doing kicks and
a guy with guns.
guy with guns, yeah. But I think they make a good job of making them feel like they've got in presence, because Widow jumps in and does some flippy doos and all the rest
They work
of
as a
it.
team. Like they get over their lack of powers by teamwork.
Also, Cat with the beard is working for me. I will say that, because
Yes.
beards are just make you a better man. That's just clear, right?
All right.
It's just clear. so that was all good fun. And also props to. I mean, I think it was Paul Bettany. No, it wasn't Paul Bettany. No, it was Colin Burbach. He actually pronounced Edinburgh correctly, so I'll give him props, because
Okay.
I expect.
Do they usually not?
So
I've heard Edinburgh from Americans. So
Really?
I
I say it like there's an Oro at the end, Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a little bit posh, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, typically, it's more like a bra.
Scots.
Yeah, borough, like that.
Yeah, Edinburgh. Anyway, so they've got the thing. I mean, their romance is fine. It doesn't really feel earned necessarily, but it's
Like,
one
I know
thing-
they have a thing in the comics, but that wasn't set up at the end of Civil War, was it?
well, they had like a moment where he saved her in Ultron, and that was kind of like the first hint of it, and then they had like a connection a little bit in the last, in Civil War, but it wasn't like we were kissing and like a couple.
Yeah,
now,
well, they
right?
ran
Yeah.
off to be like to be together off the grid.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that obviously, yeah, like we don't really see much of the makings of it, but I assume enough time has passed that they kind of grew close
2
together.
years.
So.
Oh sure, yeah. It's been 2 years in
At the
time.
same
Yeah.
though, at least he did a little better in Civil War. 'Cause I just watched Civil War right before this, and their whole relationship comes from he's her warden because she's wanted for the crossbones thing and that happened in Nigeria. So, and he's supposed to be keeping her there. So there's a little bit of an affection. but it's-
Matt, your mate's going.
Yeah, no, I don't know. He's there trying to just keep her inside. essentially.
Yeah, and they end up becoming like friendly because he's compassionate. It's this whole thing where the machine is, being overridden by his emotions.
They were definitely friendly, but it didn't feel like there was anything
No.
romantic there.
No, and it kind of bogged down parts of the movie for me. And I get it. You wanted stakes for Vision, right? Because from the trailer that Thanos is coming from because he has the stone that in his head. And I feel that was enough for me.
This is bizarre for me to say this, but I almost think this would have benefited from like a bizarre like romantic movie with those two, like this sort of weird quirky romance, how she falls in love with a robot.
No,
See, give that one to Whedon and let him shoot that like he did Much Ado.
Hell, give
yes.
it to Spike Jonze who did Her. I feel like that's the exact sort of tone you're looking for with those two.
No, it's true because I don't have a problem with them being in a relationship here. It's just that it feels like, we just needed some stakes. We just needed a relationship. We needed a way for these characters to be here. It doesn't feel like there was anything establishing it. Like everything else in the movie, I can follow the trajectories back from the previous movies. This one just feels like, it's here.
It works with logic because it's been 2 years, it's progressed. That's fine. There were seeds of some sort of like connection before, but in terms of like actually having the emotional impact because we've actually seen some of it. It doesn't really
it's disappointing that we didn't see any of this relationship.
People have compared it to Black Widow and Hulk, but I think that lands a little bit better for whatever reason. And
that's actually one of the things when they see Banner for the first time after they see like the hologram of General Ross, which was nice to have him back for a cameo.
That's a court martial.
Yeah, and she sees him, and everyone's just like, "Oh, this is awkward." I also I kept liking the jokes about how Banner had missed a lot of stuff. He's like, "Who's Scott?" He's like, "Oh, that's Ant-Man." There's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man. What's happened since I left?
Yeah. Speaking of Ant-Man and Hawkeye, I do like how they excuse their absence because it works with the in the story. They have families. They took deals, so they're on house arrest.
Should we talk? Should we talk
I think
about
that's totally fine, but once everything like starts going down, you'd think that they would like show up.
They need to be in 4 for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
they will
I think
be.
they show up as reinforcements. I don't
Yeah.
think they vanished.
Yeah, well,
I
here's
think their families vanished.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
We got casting recently for Scott's daughter, and bizarrely, she's a teenager. So there's a lot of speculation that Avengers 4 is going to have a 5-year time jump because she's going to be older.
Hey, if you get stature, that's cool.
So I think that would be interesting. Is if all these people have disappeared, are actually gone for 5 years by the time they fix it. That could be interesting.
Oh my God,
on the on the if when they revert all, that time jump has to stay. You can't undo the whole time jump as well, otherwise it kind of, I don't know, it loses something for
Well,
me.
we've got a time stone involved in that Infinity Gauntlet, so we'll see about that.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
They can just go back, but I hope they don't.
Yeah. So I want to get to that Infinity Gauntlet, but I don't want to jump too much. But
Oh, sure, yeah. That's back
The
to
Wakanda,
Cap story.
the
and
Wakanda
stuff.
stuff I really liked. I could have had more Black Panther because I really liked.
I will
was
say,
doing that role.
the thing with Cap's group is that they oddly disappear for like an hour because
Mm-hmm.
after they decide, Steve's like, we need to go somewhere we can defend and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I know a place. And that's when we introduce Wakanda. But then it's like, we follow all of their plots for like an hour, and then we get to them arriving in Wakanda. Like, I forgot Cap was in this. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's where the editing and putting it together
Yeah.
kind of gets super messy.
I will say, I think as much as there are a lot of fun moments in the big battle, it kind of goes on too long. I got.
Oh, I didn't mind.
I
was
felt
all in.
Yeah, I felt it was nicely structured compared to some battles. Like I enjoyed this battle way more than I enjoyed the airport stuff in Civil War.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I had one
You
little
basically, I do. No, wait, I don't agree with that, but that's fair.
if I had one little complaint, is I really thought that they were building up to the the fight with Proxima Midnight and Black Widow and I always forget that character's
Okoye.
name from she's awesome.
Yeah,
But,
she,
I
oh
never
yeah,
remember
another
the
big
name.
laugh. Got a huge laugh in my theater. Is when the murder wheels are coming out, the big war wheels, and then it's Scarlet Witch has been up with Vision, like because Panther's sister's try to take out the stone without killing him, and she jumps down to save the day, and she makes all 4 of the war wheels go up in the air and smashes them down the bad guys, and you just sort of turns and goes like, why was she up there this whole time?
Yeah,
Right.
that was good.
Oh, that was pretty good.
But I was
fun
hoping
ones.
that having all these badass women here, I thought there was gonna be a real big epic fight, and it seemed like a little shorter than.
There was like a little moment where it was like the 3. It was like because Witch goes down and she's like, oh, you're alone, and then Widow's like, oh, she's not alone, and there's like 3 of them,
Yeah.
and it's like it was like kind of your little moment there to okay, all the women fighters are going to take on the badass evil.
But it's
women
over
villain.
really quick. It's just like stab.
Yeah, it was a bit
Yeah.
too quick. It could have been fun to have.
Well,
more
and
of that.
that goes back to the problem of the Black Order, Thanos' goons.
Yeah.
That's all they are, is goons.
To a point, I did.
Just something to hit every so often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did kind of like. I mean, it's a shame they felt they needed the hordes of enemies, but I do kind of like, at least in this one, the feral beasts that are committing suicide to try and get through the barrier.
Oh, yeah.
I like that element of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're literally committing
'cause-
suicide to open a door.
Yeah, they're drones in that way, and oh man, and
Were
Baku
they
shows
the-
up and he does his. I popped there too. That was fantastic.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
of course he's your favorite. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Those little bug things, were those the same as the Chitauri from the first Avengers
I
movie?
don't
I
think
think
so.
they were mutated kind of Chitauri.
Yeah, they weren't the same.
They did look different.
I did like that touch actually. One of the Thanos flashbacks when he's going after Gamora's planet. It's the same big ships, the Chitauri ships and stuff that he's
Yep.
using to do all
Like,
these
like the
stuff.
big whale things,
Yeah.
the Leviathans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Space slugs.
That was a nice touch. So no, I mean that's basically Cap, because Cap basically disappears and then they have the big fight. They're in the big fight at the end, and obviously there's that great moment where Cap is literally holding the gauntlet back and he's trying to hold it off.
So
with
cool.
as
You know
much
what?
will
It
as he
makes no
has.
logical sense, but I freaking love it for the fact
Yeah.
that we didn't get that moment where he stands eye to eye with Thanos.
Yeah.
And I don't know what
Yeah.
comic that happens in, but
Well,
it's a
that's,
famous panel.
Yeah, that's an Infinity Gauntlet, and that's kind of one of the big things that people remember is
Yeah.
Thanos has all this power,
Hey.
and he's basically
Hey
just
Matt, to quote Tim's favourite quote from the first Iron Man, next time. Next time.
I always say that when me and P are talking about something.
Yeah.
So, and I was looking for that because I always still want the. I was bummed in Ultron we didn't get Thor saying Ultron we would have words with thee.
Yeah.
So I want these little small
Yeah.
moments that ultimately don't mean anything but are cool as
Yeah.
shit.
But they're awesome. Yeah.
I think if you look at the structure of the whole movie, I think what makes it kind of work, in spite of the fact that it should, because I think it's a miracle this is not a mess. 'Cause I don't think it's a mess. I think it actually works for the most part. And I think the reason, partly why it does, is that it keeps the actual core plot, much like the first Avengers, the core plot's actually pretty simple. Thanos is coming for these two stones, one's with Doctor Strange, one's with, in Wakanda with Vision. And it's all about just defending the stones and trying to stop him from getting everything together. And that's all the movie builds up to. He gets them, they lose, it's over. It keeps it nice and simple, and because of that, it doesn't get too complex with the plot. It keeps that part simple. And I think that's what kind of makes it work.
When he gets the Reality Stone, like they had me.
Well, I think that does take us on nicely to the arguably the main plot, the backbone of the movie is the Thanos plot.
Yeah. We'll just say Thor should have gone for the hand. Oh, yeah, Thanos tells him he should have gone for the head. No.
Yeah.
Just cut off the bloody glove.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
So
And again, it's fun that Thor gets in there for that last moment, and he's going to kill Thanos. It's almost working, or even the fact that Scarlet Witch does kill Vision, but then Thanos just rewinds time because he can.
Oh, so I'm thinking again.
That's
Feige wouldn't
twice.
lie to me. He's fine. Like this is why it's not a part 2 because sure Thanos might come back in the next one or whatever.
Because
Day one, our heroes have prevented him. Oh no, he has a time rewind.
Yeah.
He has the ultimate remote.
Because that was the thing. The first time the rest of the Guardians, not Rocket and Groot, but the rest go off to. And by the way, see, as soon as I said, "Oh, we'll go and try and encounter Thanos," when he goes after the Collector's Gem, I was like, "But Hulk failed. What the hell are you four going to do?"
I was like, this is a bit. I mean, but then again, he does say Nebula almost killed him on her own.
That's true. That was before he had a stone, though. I think.
Yeah. So, and we know that he ends up with the Power Stone, and he said that he took out Xandar. Right. And then
Which, by the way, that is like one line of dialogue. That planet the Guardians fought to the death to try and save in the first Guardians movie. They're all dead. They're massacred.
Yeah. He just did that last week.
John C. Reilly and his little alien daughter, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then he gets the space stone from Loki. And go ahead, Tim.
Oh, sorry. Just a quick aside. I really liked that they were playing up the angle where Drax is just dead set on killing Thanos because if you ever read Annihilation, that's what Drax is literally created.
And also
for.
in the first movie, that was his whole thing. I will kill Thanos for my wife and daughter.
I was so worried because I love Batista as Drax. Just his whole bit of I'm moving
moving so slow. Yeah. The best part of that though is just when Mantis walks out there and says, "Oh hey Drax," and he's like, "Son of a bitch."
He brings this levity to this character who shouldn't have it. He should just be a mindless bruiser, but he's so funny. And I was worried about him being one of the first to go.
Joe, I like
because he was going to charge Thanos as soon as he sees him.
Yeah, Joe, I like about the parallels between Vision and Scarlet Witch and then Star-Lord and Gamora is the idea that both of them make the other one promise to kill them. And then they both actually go through with it, or at least try to. And in the one case, it's the bubbles instead, so it just doesn't work. Yeah. So he pulls the trigger, he was going to do it for her, and then likewise, Scarlet Witch does do it, but then it gets rewound. So they both go through with this awful thing, and then have to watch and learn later on that they're dead anyway. So, also, just a quick funny joke with Star-Lord, when he does the whole stop moving thing, and everyone just...
And they just keep going, and he's just looking around good, really, guys?
Yeah, come on. Yeah. And that's the thing, as soon as the bubble thing happened with the first time he did that, I was like, they can't beat him. He can literally just warp reality to whatever he feels like.
I always have an issue with the Reality Stone, just even the idea of it. Why do you need the rest of them if you have that one?
It's why they kind of nerfed Scarlet Witch's powers, right?
Yeah.
Because she's kind of the same as well, whatever she says goes.
And that doesn't make any sense because her power's red, right? The ether is red, but she gets her powers from the Mind Stone. It's... whatever. I might be looking into it too much, but when he reveals the Collector's thing as completely just in disarray and done,
and that's not acknowledging the background of this scene. One of the Collector's items is Tobias Funke from Arrested Development, who's blew himself. Yeah, because people noticed in the credits it said, "Oh, and credit to Arrested Development for lending as a character," or whatever it said. And wait, what? There was an Arrested Development character in this? Yeah, it's because the Russos worked in Arrested Development back in the day. Yeah. So that's why you have that.
I hope that means in the next one we'll get a community reference.
Yeah. Oh, Danny Pudi has to show up and he was already in Winter Soldier, but still.
Yeah. We need Alison Brie to show up.
Yes.
Annie's boobs in the background.
Annie's boobs indeed.
And
So,
boobs in Wakanda.
if anyone's to watch Community, Annie's boobs a monkey. That's just the monkey's name
Yeah.
for the record. We're not being lewd. Okay, so you have Thanos' story. You see the flashback where he explains his philosophy to little Gamora as he's killing half of her population, right? And he's like,
telling them that what you're doing is for the good of the universe, and just being this evil preacher.
And of course, like at this point, because he's having the gauntlet, he's doing this the long and hard way, where he's literally just rounding people up and massacring them at random.
He's lining them all up, going right, half you over there, half you over there.
This half's dead. Right, are you done?
Yep.
So, although I did actually hear a great critique actually on another, and admittedly, this is one of these things where you can't like mess, like if you've got a time travel story, you don't want to just take apart the mechanics too much because it'll just fall apart. But I did hear a great critique from another review that, well, the gauntlet can just alter reality, so why can't he just double the resources with it instead?
I thought about that too.
That's fair. I think he could, but I don't think that's crossed his mind. He's so set on his.
That's
gauntlet,
fair.
right?
Or maybe he wants the half that lives to appreciate what's happened, so they can live. Okay, I'll accept that argument.
Like the way I kind of see it though, I think he is like pure evil, and like a lot of evil people, he tries to have like some type of philosophy to justify his actions, even though
he believes he's right.
He's the hero of his own story.
Yeah. He's a good guy to himself. Yeah, absolutely. So here's something I want to ask Connor. As me and him both despise Captain America: The First Avenger, when Gamora takes, after like torturing Nebula and convinces her to take Thanos to the stone that's hidden, and we get the gatekeeper of the stone on this planet.
There's a moment where they're in the big billowy. I was like, oh, are they doing the death thing?
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I thought at first. I was like, oh, they're doing death. I was like, this is given that we'd already set up, there's this different motivation for Thanos here. I was like, this is interesting inclusion.
And instead, we get freaking Red Skull.
Dude, not even Hugo Weaving either.
It wasn't. That was an impressionist.
I didn't even know it wasn't Hugo Weaving. First, I thought it was a Dementor. And why am I getting Harry Potter in Avengers? Not going to complain, but don't get too close to that hood. And then I heard the voice.
But don't get me wrong, he did nothing bad in this movie. He's fine. He serves his purpose.
Residual hatred, isn't it?
But I hate
awesome.
I hate Red Skull in that first movie. I hate that first movie. I don't want to be reminded of it.
I thought this was such a cool little Easter egg. Like I never even if you don't like Red Skull in the first movie, I won't argue with that. But I think Red Skull is like a huge Marvel character that I think it's nice to. I don't know, show like a little nod to him, even though, maybe we don't need to see him in other movies, but I think it's like a real interesting thing. And again, this is that comic book ass shit where
I know
you wouldn't see this in a lot of other movies.
Here's the thing that gets from me is the implication of, okay, he's been here. Is something keeping him alive, or is it just okay? He's had that super soldier serum, so he just lives this long. We'll Captain America live.
I took it as that the Space Stone, the cube, the Tesseract, whatever you want to call it, when it transported there, it changed him. So it almost made him this cosmic being.
I don't think that. I think it was just it left him there, and he mellowed over time. He was probably pretty angry for a while, and over he's been there 70 years, whatever it is. I don't know.
Do you know? I was going to say 10 because it's been 10 years of movies. Oh wait, that was World War II. Never mind.
Yeah. That's my point. He's been there a long time. So on his own, he probably mellowed out eventually.
Probably, yeah. I'll tell you what I do like about it, just to go back to the idea that a lot of the jokes, a lot of the little references, we have a Hulk from Loki, which was, it feels like this is the two-part end of the trilogy, and it feels like we are harkening back to a lot of things. And as much as Red Skull wasn't in the first Avengers, he was in Phase 1. And I feel like finally answering where did he go when he went away at the end. Okay, I appreciate the idea behind that, even if I groan at the sight of him.
It was one of those where it was open, because they could have just said, he died. It could have just disintegrated him if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Or they could have but of course by a red skeleton or something.
Yeah. I guess that actor, I don't know who he is, but he showed up on the red carpet, and they asked...
Dead, I believe.
Okay. They asked him why he's there. He's like, I enjoy the Avengers movies, and I have friends that worked on it, and he kept it so close to the vest.
And again, he could have said, I did some voice work for a small character. He could have just said that.
I'm so happy this wasn't some bullshit, you'll never guess what Marvel character's making a return article that ruined it.
They're everywhere now.
Oh,
Yeah.
now they
I'll
are.
never guess
Yeah.
what Marvel character was recast. The surprise return.
Yeah, the little things that go by news. I used to. I won't name the site, but I used to go exclusively to them for news, and now it's all these little tiny articles based off of little blurbs, and it sucks because I miss my good news coverage for movie stuff.
There was a couple of places I unfollowed just because like their Facebook pages would say stuff like, again, like they won't make the actual reveal in the title of the article, but just the title.
To expect something, or they'll be
Yeah.
like, okay.
Or if you have half a brain, you'll be able to just deduce from the title what they're talking about, and it'll
Exactly.
click,
Yeah.
based on just random knowledge you might have, and all. Yeah, now it's happened to me a couple
Which
of times.
feline inspired female Batman character is going to blah blah blah? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, geez, I
so
don't know.
I wonder who it is. Yeah, that exactly that kind of thing. But Thanos' whole thing, where like I liked his motivation. And it was kind of his story where he is the protagonist. He's the one who's trying to do everything, and he goes to Titan, he takes on that team. Then he goes down to Earth once he's got 5 of the stones. He just needs that last one, just needs that 6th, and it's all about him getting there. And we end with him on this downer note where he's won, like it's his story,
Yeah, and he's happy, like he's content.
And I think that's what's interesting to me is that I think the next movie, it's the Avengers story of them winning.
Yeah.
Oh,
without a doubt, yeah.
And after they've lost, because they had to lose big, right? They've never really lost big before. They sure Coulson died in Avengers, and that motivated them a bit, but
yeah,
this was the
but
big loss.
Even in Ultron, Vision showed up and saved the day. Like, and him and Ultron have that meaning of life talk on that bench.
And then of course the added factor of how does Captain Marvel factor into this, and so on. Like there's all these other elements.
Is that next year?
Yeah, that's before.
No.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like March. It's like 2-3 months before
Nice.
Avengers 4.
Oh man, I'm definitely. I thought it was
it's
after.
the equivalent to how Black Panther was this year.
Yeah, basically what they're doing with it is because it's set in the 90s, and there was set photos this week of young Samuel L. Jackson, but he had markers in his face for the CG because they're going to actually de-age him. But it's set in the 90s, so what I love is, and this is kind of what I like about the post-credit scene, apart from the obvious, there's still hope, there's still someone to call in, right?
I mean, assuming that she didn't vanish.
Assuming, I doubt it, given that.
No, I know she didn't.
Yeah.
But Fiore doesn't know that.
So not
My
only
guess is she's in space somewhere after the first movie.
So not only is it an idea of hope, but the idea that now after that post-credit scene, we're going to flash back to who she is, what her story is, and then we'll bring her in Avengers 4 to help save the day because she's as powerful as Thor or whatever.
She's supposed to be the strongest there is in the MCU.
Because Feige was saying that this is the most powerful hero we've made, in the universe. So that'll be fun.
And it's Brie Larson, so
I do like Brie Larson too.
So yeah, we're all there. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're all into those ideas.
You know what movie she was in last year?
Room?
Kong Skull Island.
Oh yeah.
Of course, that's where he was going with it.
I knew as soon as he said that, I was like, I know he's going for Kong. It's the only thing that he could be talking about.
I want to give the movie some credit because I did have some complaints. I still don't think I love the event feeling of it as much as I did the first Avengers movie. But I want to give it credit because I think even though I enjoyed Spider-Man quite a bit, and I thought Black Panther had a lot more depth than I was expecting, and I really appreciated that. This is the first time I'm genuinely into the plot again, where I'm like, I actually kind of like what this did at the end, and I'm excited to see. And I know they're going to win at the end. They're eventually going to win.
You're almost a lapsed comic fan that was like, yeah, I haven't been keeping up month to month, but oh man, this event. Yeah. Oh man, this is great.
Kind of, yeah, kind of that. Yeah. But I can't deny that I was having fun through it. I was smiling a lot. I think I was dubious at the start because I've been feeling the fatigue. The first couple of shots of the creepy villains walking on the ship and there's people lying on the floor dying. But from the moment Hulk said, or from the moment Loki said, "We have a Hulk," that made me smile, and it called back to the first movie. And then from that point on, it kind of just kept winning me over a little bit. Over and over again. And I still like Doctor Strange very much, but I did like every time he was called a wizard. I thought that was funny. So
yeah, that was great. Definitely on this rewatch, it's made me appreciate other ones more and others less. So I do like that I can. There's not so many of them, but they're all so different that I can appreciate them for different things. And this one's no different because it's a little bit more epic feeling than Avengers, but I agree with Pete that it doesn't feel as special, even though it probably is because of its
isn't. It's because it's the build up of 10 years and it's like a proper comic book event. And I think one of my complaints with Civil War is that it felt like serialized to a point where I felt unsatisfied with it, whereas to me this still had more of an actual ending where I felt like, no, that was a chapter. I feel satisfied with this chapter of this. Civil War was a little bit less fulfilling in that regard for me.
Yeah, and again, like I know, Connor, you said that you don't like this about it, but like to me this feels like, again, like a comic book, and it feels like a comic book event, and like this is the first issue, and I mean, I'm kind of I love a depressing ending, like especially when you know that, like, all right, but then like the next part though is going to be like the triumphant thing, and that's what really, like, keeps me going, and especially with like comic books, you want to, it's weird, but you want to see your heroes get beaten so you can see them rise up again. And
this is the thing, as much as I have a lot of problems with this movie, and I found that I didn't get that satisfaction that Peter's talking about as a chapter, but I understand why people like it, and I think I'll like the next one a lot more because I'll be getting my payoff, I'll be getting my resolution.
It's also worth mentioning, when it cut to credits and it was this downer ending, I basically sort of smirked and looked around, I was like, all right, I want to see kids crying. Who's miserable?
What you do? Of course. I know my wife, we've seen every Marvel movie together. She goes, I didn't like that. And then as time's gone on, as each day, she goes, when are we seeing it again? I go, I thought you didn't like it. She goes, no, I did. I just didn't like how it made me feel. And I was like, oh, welcome to being a comic fan. Like,
this has easily had the most stakes. And
that's something we haven't actually touched on yet. We started getting there because we started talking about Red Skull.
Sure.
But we didn't get to Gamora.
That's right. The actual how he got that stone. He has to sacrifice someone he loves, and she gets all kind of like, well, guess you're out of luck. You don't love anything, and then he just turns around with a tear in his eye, and I'm like, oh no, he does love her.
I don't know if you guys thought this, but like part of me kind of feels like he knew he might have to do something like this someday, so like he almost like
why he was collecting children.
Yeah, like, because he knew that like he like could force himself to love them enough that in case he had to make the sacrifice.
I think I like it more that it's not that. It's that, like, the idea that the stone would know if it was forced, like it would know if it was like coerced.
That's why I like that scene with Gamora, because he does feel like, I'm gonna take this girl under my wing, and life's not fair, and I'm proof of that. But I could make her into a suitable heir.
That's the thing. As horrific as all the stuff that Thanos is doing, he's not like evil, like just all evil for evil's sake. He genuinely thinks he's a good
because see when, like, obviously sometimes in these movies we say, oh, why didn't the villain just kill X hero there? Because there's times where he could have just killed Thor at the start of the movie. He could have just killed X, someone else, because he's not out to actually kill them. He doesn't care.
No.
Right, and there are other times in these movies where I'm like, well, why is this guy evil? He just is. Whereas Thanos, I don't think even is evil. He's just he has his own motivation that is not good, but there's a logic to it. I understand it, so that when he is going and wiping out half these planets, he genuinely believes he is improving the lives of all these other people.
You all say that, but you forget what he's done to Nebula. Every time she lost a fight to Gamora, she had a body.
He's an awful father. He's all tough love and all the rest of it.
No, there was that one weird scene which people back me up on this, but when Thanos calls Iron Man and just says, "I'm evil."
You act like I haven't seen that movie.
Have you seen He Was Evil?
I have. I told you when I watched it.
I love it. Tim's giving you like a sneak peek into. If you don't watch Screams After Midnight, which is me and Tim talking about horror movies, that was a sneak peek into the wonderful macabre world that we ventured through.
If you like that, then get your head checked.
Yeah. No, that movie's great. You shut up, Matt.
No, I need
evil.
God, that movie's so dumb, but I love it.
It's great. It's such a great premise for a movie. It's basically the Infinity War of slasher movies. That's not lie. Right.
Weird that the villain was painted purple, but whatever.
Instead of collecting stones, he's collecting kills in each time zone on New Year's, and that makes him powerful. That's his thing.
So with all the stones, I felt it did a good job that it worked me into the, I don't want him to get the stones. He got the stone. Crap. Okay, well, he only has to get 3 more. Oh, crap. And then he gets the last one, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it's over. And then when he snaps his fingers, here's my question. He purposefully destroyed the gauntlet, right? So no one else can use it? Like, his mission was accomplished.
I don't know. That's a question. You may be right.
With the power.
My first thought was that, yeah, like it was such like a, even the stones have their limits.
Here's a question though.
They're like the Dragon Balls. You can only use them once.
Is Thanos even technically alive at the end? Because here's my thing. So we're all expecting that all the people who faded away come back. We're also there's no chance in hell Gamora's not coming back. I think the get out clause for her is that I think she's technically inside the stone. And I read the ending that Thanos is now inside the stone with her, and that's why little girl Gamora's in there.
So yeah, I mean that's something that happens like in the comics. I think specifically the Soul Stone.
Yeah, unless he's just brought her back because it's part of the thing he did when he snapped his fingers, and now he's just on a planet somewhere with her.
But everything is orange tinged, right? Which
yeah.
So
like, I don't know. I kind of
feel. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just gonna. I kind of thought that when he has that thing like where he wakes up in that kind of like red water and he sees the young Gamora, I thought that was inside the Soul Stone.
Yeah. I feel there's a piece of him there, and there's a piece of him.
Yeah.
In our universe.
I do appreciate that it was genuinely random. He didn't want to pick who was going to die. He just,
No.
And
I think so.
Here's my conspiracy theory.
And I like because I saw this weird debate, right? So go back to the whole Doctor Strange saw the possibilities and saw this is how it has to happen for it to win.
Yeah.
And I saw this really inane debate about how it's not truly random because Doctor Strange could see who was going to survive, and I'm like, yeah, but if he's using the time stone, it's still random. He's just seeing the outcome of the random for a start.
Yeah,
and it's like he can't affect it.
And also,
it's like going and finding out the bingo game, but those are still the numbers that are going to pop out. Like,
and also,
you have no control over the numbers that are popping out.
If you want to go with the whole fate thing, like, you could argue there's an element of fate that, no, the original Avengers are still around to fix this. Like, that's who survived.
I have a question about the gauntlet and the stones in general. Why does he need all of them? Because surely once he has the reality stone, that's you can just go right. Okay, reality change.
Reality stone doesn't take back time, right? So that you don't get the time aspect of it. But if
the
reality stone is appearances, right?
Yeah, but if he just wants to, because he literally does change things, right? He the bubbles they change physically. It's not an illusion.
Tim can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm reading this as. Yeah, he can change reality in like his vicinity, but he's wanted to change the entire universe. I think it's only that powerful if it's got all the stones.
Okay, fair enough. I was just wondering why he couldn't just go to a planet. It's like, okay, I've got a reality stone. Half of you gone.
I think it's kind of like just having any one of the stones is pretty powerful, but someone like Thanos, they want ultimate power, and like that is just like. You're basically completely like 100% like God, invincible, can do anything, and then having just one of them is a lot. But
no, I do get that. It felt to me like the reality stone was all he needed to achieve his goal. But maybe I'm on this.
I take the reality stone. It's like there's that saying that perception is reality, right? That's yours, and that's what I feel like because it seems like it's mostly tricks of sight and whatnot.
Yeah. There's like if you look in like like the Marvel handbook or something, there's very specific stuff that the gems, as they would call them, can do. But I always I have such a bad memory. I forget really what ones do.
There are points where the reality stone seems like it's just creating an illusion. With the collector's place, it's and it shifts across the screen like it's revealing the truth. Like, this was all an illusion. But then there's times where, he changes the gun, when it shoots, it comes out as bubbles. And it's like, well, that's not an illusion. That is physically changed.
Yeah. You know what? It probably is like, maybe it doesn't do like a lasting effect because, he like cuts or he like turns Drax into like cubes and...
and when he just
that's true. It shifts back. You're right. Yeah. Yep. All the Guardians who because I think Mantis went to a ribbon. She went to a ribbon, right? They all went back together once he left. So maybe that's it. Maybe it just is temporary.
That's this was a critique of the movie in general. This is just my lack of understanding. It didn't make it that clear to me.
It didn't. And maybe that's just let's keep it down to 2.5 hours. Let's not have to explore everything. That's maybe why that is.
So my conspiracy theory is that Gamora is in the stone, and I feel. When he wiped out half of the universe, she was able, because she's in the stone, to collect those heroes that she wanted. That's why most of the Guardians went there, except for.
But she wouldn't
Rocket.
know who half the ones who went away were.
No, but I
don't
feel
like
like
that.
no.
I like it was just chance.
Yeah, just chance.
See, I don't.
This
No.
is, to go back. We mentioned leftovers before because it's a very similar thing.
That is actually, it's
The
really
idea
weird
that
how similar this is.
It was that was a certain percentage. It wasn't half, but it wasn't even across the whole world. Like some towns, no one vanished, and some almost the whole town did.
Yeah, because it was only like 2%, so there was a reasonable chance that some small towns might just not have anyone vanish. Whereas this is 50-50.
And the leftovers is only 2%, and that's why they're that. If you only eat 2% of your meal, that's not really your leftovers, right?
Are you
That's
really
weird.
critiquing the title of the show because you think...
I am.
Look, my point here is, all the Guardians vanish, but that's just chance. 50%. It's like, okay, they all did, but then there's 5 people on Earth that didn't because they did, or whatever.
Yeah, it's completely random, and I think I'm excited to see how they solve this. There are set photos that imply certain shenanigans. I don't want to go into those because those are a bit more spoilery for the next movie.
I haven't looked at set photos.
I think it's worth not talking about that.
Message me those later, Pete.
Okay, I'll tell you after.
I'm
I
curious.
love how like tight-lipped they're being though. Like not even revealing the title of the next
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, because it's Infinity War Part 2.
Okay, actually, that's a fun thing. Before we get to ratings and stuff, let's have a bit of fun. Guesses for the title of Avengers 4.
Who wants to go first?
I haven't got anything.
Car's got nothing. I mean,
Avengers Reassembled.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Heroes Reborn, maybe.
Yeah, no. Nothing that gives you Liefeld. No.
no.
It's bad enough for getting Cable.
Yeah, no,
Oh my god.
I don't think anything that sounds like because I mean part of my head says like New Avengers, but I don't think it is New Avengers because it's just the wrap up of the original Avengers.
No, that's the next sequence of Avengers movies.
Well, I'm trying to think though because they almost always use like a comic book title, like
or some variation of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what else there.
They're sticking it to Bendis on his way out the door. They're gonna use one of his.
I mean, yeah. What is the natural follow up to this? That's why, because I think before I saw the movie, I was like, oh, maybe it'll be Infinity Gauntlet. But then that's the story. Here's the Infinity Gauntlet. The second movie's not going to be
Yeah,
really
not the
about
Infinity
that.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's-
I don't know.
So
Avengers.
what are some other Thanos related like cosmic-y?
Well, they're like they all are like basically
Infinity
begin with like
Reason.
infinity, like it's Infinity
Yeah.
Watch, Infinity War, Infinity
what-
Revelations.
Not to like steal things from 90s Batman movies, but I feel like something like Avengers Forever or something like that might end up being the title.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have any particular guesses. But hey, if they're setting up the Skrulls in Captain Marvel,
That's where I thought they were going. I thought they were going Secret Invasion.
yeah, well, that's what I don't think that for 4, but I think if we're setting up Skrulls in Captain Marvel, I think Secret Invasion down the line is absolutely going to be a movie.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's so excited about that.
It's kind of
There's other things of like where's the villains go from here, and
this is so big
Someone-
and epic that another
Yeah.
Avengers movie. It's kind of hard to think like.
Well,
trying to
here's-
sell Galactus, and that's how you bring in the Fast Four. I'm like, well,
I don't think you
That's
do
true.
Galactus next. I think you do something like the Skrulls next, and then or Doctor Doom even, and then come back to Galactus because we just did a big cosmic thing. I think we go
but
something
that's the thing
else.
with Galactus. After Thanos, I don't feel like Galactus is that big of a threat. Like, all right, just tell him to go over there.
Doesn't he eat
Hey.
planets?
Yeah.
Now,
That's a threat.
if I have one like really big disappointment for me is just like I love like Daredevil so much, and it's just such a bummer that like I like the TV show, but just like it's stuck in TV, and like I would have loved to see even just like a little glimpse of him like running on the streets.
That's how
or
I
something.
feel about the cast of Shield.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
love Shield. Shield's a fantastic show.
Well, that makes more sense for them to pop in on the next one, because if it involves
Yeah.
Fury and Hill,
It's entirely
Not based off this week's episode.
Yeah, it's there was a sort of little reference to things going on in this week's episode, and it was basically a joke that was saying, "Yeah, if you're going to ignore us, we're ignoring you." Because someone says to some character, this is not a spoiler. Someone says to a character, "Hey, have you seen all that crazy stuff that's going on in New York?" And the character responds, I don't have time to watch the news." And then the plot continues.
It's such a difference from when Winter Soldier came out, and like,
Oh yeah, and it affected everything. Yeah.
You know, you know, it would have been actually like super funny though, if they just showed like the entire cast of the Inhumans disappearing.
We don't need to bring those back. It's fine.
I would like that.
That's good.
God,
That's good.
remember when that was supposed to be a movie?
Oh, I do remember
movie?
that. I do remember that. Also, I think with that said, we can probably get to rating the movie out of 10 if everyone's game for that. So, Matt, what are you rating out of 10?
I feel like you didn't go 10 because you didn't want to start at a 10. So
Yeah, I want to start ultra high.
That feels like he might be the middle ground.
Yeah.
yeah. So I did have some slight problems, like with the Thanos's guys and the Scarlet Witch and Vision, but the rest of it was just 100% great time, and I don't regret any of it. So I think I gotta give it an 8.5.
Cool. Yeah, we'll go with Tim next.
I mean, honestly, like I genuinely like can't remember like this time I was this happy in a theater. Like, there's been a lot of movies that I like and I've gotten excited for, but yeah, this was just like pure joy. There's nothing I didn't like about it. Like, if I want to, I'm sure I can make like some very small like quibbles, but it really doesn't affect my enjoyment. So I'm honestly, I'm just gonna give this a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it, and listen to me, I'm telling you, come Oscar time, if this doesn't win at least 5, I will riot.
Tim,
I'm not going to say anything because that was me in Last Jedi. I'm not going to.
Actually, here's
that's
a question.
Kind of how I felt like when I was coming out of it. I was like, oh, this is probably like how like I didn't hate The Last Jedi, but I definitely wasn't as big on some people. And then
Here's a question.
yeah, my
Tim.
reaction is kind of like that. What?
I have a question. Do you like this more or less than Ash vs. Evil Dead?
That's real tough.
You're just making a
if
pick between his kids right now. You're making him turn into Thanos.
If I can quote the great Connor, they're different mediums. You can't compare them. They're just...
The only thing I dispute in that entire statement is the word "great" before Connor's name.
I thought you were setting up for a joke. I thought it was going to be a different Connor.
Connor, what are you getting out of 10?
Yeah, this is going to be real harsh, but like I say, I didn't get much satisfaction from it. I thought it was kind of a mess. It suffers from Part 1 syndrome. As a piece of a movie, it's great, but as a full, complete movie on its own, for me, it's like a 4.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh dear, 4 out of 10. That's interesting. So, yeah, I'll rate it better than Last Jedi out of 10. Is that acceptable?
That is not a number.
You give Last Jedi a 3, so I think it's gonna be a 3 through.
Did I?
Jesus Christ.
I don't remember. I just
I was like, stop making people put out random numbers. I don't remember what I gave it off the top of my head. I think I gave it like a 5, but
He doesn't remember it that well. He tries to put it out.
I did try to forget. It was a dull, frustrating movie. I do genuinely think this is way better than Last Jedi. I will stand by that opinion. And Tim's with me.
Yeah, I think I like Last Jedi better than you, but I do like it less than you guys.
Aye, but this is.
I softened a little bit on it since it came out, but
Infinity War's better. You agree with that statement?
Oh, yes.
Right. Now, what side do you fall on actually?
No, I'm on an Infinity War side because there are parts that, I'm more invested. As weird as it is, I'm more invested in Infinity War right now than I am Star Wars. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to say, but I'm kind of on the same boat. Like, it feels weird because like Star Wars was my first love. Like, I liked it, way before I got into like Marvel and comics and stuff. But it's a little more exciting for me. I'm
That
excited
said,
for
if you think
Solo,
if you think I'm not super excited for Solo, you're stupid.
We're not talking about Solo. We're bringing up stupid Solo, right? I was making fun of Last Jedi. We can move on with the lives now.
I know. I'm just saying, don't let my fatigue on Star Wars get you.
Yeah, honestly, my actual rating, I think I have to basically match Matt here and say 8.5. I think that's where I'm falling on that.
I don't like how often we fall into the same numbers.
We have to review more stuff under the skin, Matt. That is the only cure for this. We can have really different opinions.
No, if that's the cure, then fine. I'll live with that. I'll live with that pox.
It's a Black Widow spin-off, Matt. Shut up. No, come on.
No.
But no, so that's Infinity War. I guess we'll take a couple of minutes to plug the shit out of everything because we're all here for a change, which is a rare occasion. So of course, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. There's a bunch of bonuses. You get to vote and stuff every month. You get to vote on movies that me and Matt watch on Overload, me and Tim watch on Screams if I can speak properly, and me and Connor watch on Influx. So you get to vote on movies, you get to vote on comic stuff, you get a bonus comics episode every month. There's audio feeds for everything. Even if you don't want to, support the channel by actually, donating on Patreon, it's worth going over there for all the links to all the various playlists and audio feeds that are in the opening post. So it's convenient in that sense as well. But yeah, obviously any support is fantastic, and that includes liking, subscribing, putting comments in the comment section and all the rest of it. Let us know what you thought of the movie, and yeah, I expect some interesting opinions on this. But yeah, I think I'm just happy to say that I am way more positive coming out of this than I thought I was going to.
I wish I was.
I was trepidatious going in, but I came out fairly happy.
I was going in cautious and came out more disappointed because they told me it was a complete story.
This film doesn't
That
bother me.
actually set me up to come down to be underwhelmed.
If anything, I actually wish I believed them, because then the ending would have cut me even deeper. I like when they trick me. I'm all for it.
I got tricked. I got fully worked on this. So
There you go.
Oh.
So unlike if this was like Infinity War, then Connor would win, and he'd be like would have this big sad ending that Connor's got in his way.
Half of all the Marvel movies would just disappear.
I'm not gonna lie, you could probably get rid of about half of them, and I wouldn't feel that bad.
So would I, to be honest. I could easily get rid of First Avenger.
I'm just holding like Thor 2 in my hand as it like turns to dust. No.
That's also one.
that's the one that
Yeah.
rewatch. Says outside the Thor Loki scenes does not.
It's a slog in it.
There's a slog, that one.
Iron Man 2 is not great either.
Iron Man 2 is pretty rough.
Iron
I'll
Man
tell
2
you,
is the only one
Iron
I
Man
actively
2
dislike.
Yeah, if Iron Man 2, man, if I had to save one, it'd be Iron Man 2 over Thor, and I love Thor, but yeah,
I
I'd rather
probably
watch
get
Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I probably like for me, the bottom of the list is like definitely Iron Man 2, and then Thor 2. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's really like
boring.
kind of mediocre. Like it's not one that's like super fun to rewatch.
Nah,
but I don't
worst
hate it.
one's Cap 1, then Doctor Strange, then Iron Man 2.
Crazy.
Those are not necessarily in that order, but those are definitely my bottom three.
I've seen some people dissing on the Incredible Hulk, but I really like that movie.
I enjoy it.
I like it. I think it holds up better than most of Phase 1 by the fact that it's not, and it's not just another origin movie.
It's
True,
the
yeah.
one I don't own and trying to track down. It's impossible. So I
Right?
feel
Yeah.
like they are. Yeah, they're
I-
trying to scrub it. And I find that out.
Actually, on
I
that
have
subject,
the
I'm
DVD,
almost
but the Blu-ray's hard to get.
a little bit disappointed, because Ruffalo, Banner like steps out after we've seen General Ross, and I'm like, couldn't we have had like General Ross see him for a second for just
Oh, yeah,
the
that's true.
interaction? Because we never got to see them interact, because he was with Norton back in the.
So you look different after your time away.
Yeah, you've
actually,
changed.
I like that was a good line with him and Shuri when she was like talking about what they should do with like Vision's stone, and she was like, why didn't you think of that? And he's like, because we didn't
Yeah.
think
But
of that.
just doing that reminds me, when they recast what's his name for Iron Man 2.
Rhodey, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes in, it's like, look, it's me. You just deal with it.
You know,
That's like
we
his
never,
first line.
we never even mentioned Rhodey, but he was around a lot for the big fight. He had some
True.
combat stuff. He didn't fade away as well. And it's worth noting that he was kind of the original sidekick. He was the first sidekick we had
He was?
out of the whole
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of a bit whatever on him. I feel like his whole thing in Civil War was kind of undermined by the fact that he's just around again anyway. He's still his suit. He's still just doing his thing.
I also wonder like if we're gonna get like follow up like in the second movie, if we'll find out like some of the civilian characters like Pepper or Aunt May if they
Maybe.
fade away or whatever.
Yeah, maybe Aunt May isn't feeling too bad about Peter not coming home because she vanished herself.
Yeah. And obviously Banner was in
Yes,
the
that's the best case scenario.
yeah, Banner was in
That
the
sounds-
Hulkbuster armor. We never even mentioned that, but that was some
Oh, yeah.
combat. That
Yeah,
was
I thought there was bits where the head was off and his head was just sticking out the top, and all the CG looked weird on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the fight stuff though, where he gets his arm ripped off and stuff, that was it was good fun stuff when that was going on. And I was actually kind of looking forward to the Hulk forming like out of the armor, like the armor just bursting off of him.
Bursting
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
it,
So I really hope we get that. I hope he has the suit back on next movie just so we can see that transition. But anyway, that is us. So thank you for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.